what a design process is. So this will be expected of you with every brief that you kind of undertake. So we will ask you to show us what your process is for this, for the design process. So obviously, where you start, okay? So your process will be firstly to listen to the brief, okay? So what is the brief asking you? Then take some time to analyze this. Okay, so by analysing, we would research, we would look into the research options. Through the research, then we would think, okay, this kind of fits with what we're trying to do. We would start generating some ideas. From there, you start to design, design development. You would try out different things then. You would test it. So if you're trying to, for instance, try and create a piece of clothing, adaptive clothing, for a consumer that has special requirements, you would probably go back to that consumer, say, okay, this is the prototype I put together. What do you think? And kind of then it'd be a conversation back and forth on how you would continue to test this. You put certain implementations in, try different things, then you would evaluate, have a little think, oh, right, okay, could I tweak this? Could I do that? Maybe you need to redesign certain aspects of it. Okay, and then you kind of go back to the start again. You would look at the brief again, you'd analyze it into your final outcome of, is this enough? Is this, have I met all the requirements of the brief? So obviously that's what you get first. So you are given a brief like we've given you now. We unpack the brief. So we go through the brief and ensure that you understand everything that is required. So ask questions. Do not be afraid to ask questions. Define the brief. Okay, what does it require? Okay, break it up, dissect it, have a little look and think, right, okay, what do I need to do to get to this point? Break it down, do it step by step. Research is really, really important. So we talk about research a lot, and as you can see, with the brief that you are given, the first 3 weeks are focused on researching. So it's really understanding. It's imperative that you understand what the brief requires you to do. And then you start generating ideas. So from this research, you'll have, a lot of, so we call all the research, everything that you kind of collate, think of it as your trolley, like when you go food shopping, you put everything in the trolley. From there, then you start to generate ideas. Okay, what could I do with this? What could I do with that? Then we look at the brief again. Okay, looking at the requirements of the brief. This is what I can do. This might work, this might not. So you start pulling it apart a bit more then. Then you might start putting a little prototype idea together or some elements and think, okay, let's have a little look at that. Experiment, try things out as much as you can, okay? Especially when you do a design project, like these experimentations where the magic kind of happens. And then, like I said, we'll have our formative assessment, we'll have a little look and then see how we can refine it. How can we make it better? What can we do to improve it? Get feedback again, like I said, through formative. So a formative assessment will be when you sit with me, might sit with the class, and we give our ideas, and then we generate feedback. So it's like, okay, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Like sometimes as designers, we get, like I said, really tunnel visioned into an idea that we think, oh, this is great, this is great. And it's only when you start sharing these ideas that you can refine with the feedback and think, okay, I didn't look at it from there, from that aspect. Then you resolve issues. There's certain things that you think, I could actually do this better. How can I do this better? So that would be a resolution stage. And then you might have to go back to the research. And then you might have to define again. Then you might have to generate more ideas. It's not linear, okay? So the design process is never linear. It never runs in a straight line. It will never ever work like that. However much we think, okay, first of all, we'll research, then we'll generate these ideas, then we'll create a prototype, then we'll refine. A lot of the time, it's back forth, back forth, back forth, and that's totally fine. It's the correct way to be. Speak up, ask for ideas. You've got technical support there. You've got academic support. You might have to speak to somebody. You might have to go back to refine again. You might have to look at the brief again then to think, okay, have I gone too far now? I've broken the parameters of the brief, but have I taken it to a point where it doesn't actually meet the parameters of the brief anymore? You might have to do another prototype. You might have to go back and re-understand something else that you think, oh, I might have missed this. Let me have another little look. You might want to get more feedback. You might want to refine and get feedback again. After your feedback, you might want to refine again. There might be more resolutions that you have to come up with. You might have to generate more ideas. You might have to get more feedback. So as you can see, there is no right way of doing this. Okay, it's back, forth to ensure that you are meeting everything the brief requires of you. So why do we use a process? So we use a process because obviously we start to generate lots and lots of ideas, and every time, so be as a fashion student myself, when there was a new brief that I'd had to, start thinking of ideas of what to do, my head used to get very, very messy and very, very noisy. So by having an idea of what your process is, you kind of think, okay, this is the way I'm going to do it. So it's almost like chunking it down and thinking, right, let me get to this point. Then from that point, I'll do this. Okay, so it's your research. Then it's generating ideas. Then you might want to get some feedback. Then you might want to refine again, like we said, lots and lots of things. So this is your first module. So it's kind of trying to work out how you as a designer are going to use your own mind. How are you going to process all these ideas? How are you going to refine them? So there's different ways of thinking. So when we think of divergent thinking involves a lot of creativity and it accepts multiple solutions to a problem. Okay, so that'll be your initial idea. So that's when all this fills up with lots and lots of different ideas. Then you will look at the brief again. So once you've looked at the brief again, you think, okay, you start getting your convergent side of your brain to work. So the convergent side focuses on reaching one well-defined solution to a problem. Okay, so then you get all these ideas, think, okay, then you pull some ideas out of there, then you'll start again and break them down, think, okay, these ideas kind of fit more with the brief. You look at the brief again, and then you look at the convergent side and think, okay, what can I take through? What meets the parameters of the brief? Okay, so you will do a lot of to-ing and fro-in, looking at the brief and thinking, this works, this doesn't, take this out, and that's totally fine. Okay, like I said, it's never going to be linear. It's always going to be a journey that you're to-ing and fro-in with to try and work out what the best solution is to the brief and the outcome. So this is why we need to have a process in place and to follow it, just to kind of keep ourselves under control and think, okay, I've got this, I can do this. Okay, so there's no right or wrong way of doing it. You might have somebody who sat next to you or somebody you know who you think, wow, they come up with that idea really easily. Okay, we don't all think in the same way. Everybody is different.